almost there. I know it still feels like an eternity till we get to Rangers-Astros. You're only 2 days away from the start of the first American League Championship Series the Rangers have been involved in 12 years. Just the third one in the history of this franchise. What is your official prediction for Rangers-Astros? And we've already got some really positive responses from the 214. Rangers in 4. From the 972, Rangers in 5. Look. And from another 972, Rangers in 5. If any of those things happen, there will be nothing that can convince me we won't win the World Series. If the Rangers win this series in 4 or 5 games, I don't care if the Phillies sweep, if the Diamondbacks sweep on the other side. There will be nothing that convince me that the Rangers aren't going to win the World Series.
I agree with you on that. Like, I know the Phillies are hot right now, and I know Arizona was really hot against a regular season team as well. And obviously that series is going to kind of work itself out at some point, but I think if the Rangers are in some sort of dominant form and they can, keep from having to throw one of their pitchers a third time in the series would be awesome. But Kevin, I know Mike walked in yesterday and he was throwing the negativity around. Mike Bassick. I'm not sure if he's ever really been a fan of the Rangers.
Doesn't sound like Mike.
But he did say, look, everything tells you, all the numbers, everything that lines up, all the talent that they have tells you that
they should lose.
They should lose this. That the Astros are the better team. And that is the thing that I can't get past. And I know I'll get the homer if I say Rangers in 6. I'm going to get, Corey's a homer. Of course he would say something like that.
Can I tell you something about that?
That's what I'm pulling for, damn it.
Okay.
Rangers in 6, because here's why, Kevin. I want the Rangers to win Game 6 next Sunday whenever the Cowboys have their bye week. And there's no Cowboys game going on, and the Rangers are like, this is our Sunday, baby.
Okay.
So the Rangers in 6 is what I'm pulling for.
That's a great point. I want to point out, though, this series is not as lopsided as you would have guessed a couple weeks ago, right? So I was looking at the betting odds. Houston for the series is only a -140, and the Rangers are a +120. And if you're like, give it to me another way, well, don't mark that.
Yes, please mark that. Thank you, Jeff.
Don't. That means the Astros are a 58.3% probability to win that series. Now, so going into a series, if I was like, you have 42% chance of winning, I feel like you'd be like, okay.
Yeah, feeling pretty confident.
Yeah. It's not like, obviously you'd love the number to be higher, but so it's not as lopsided.
Yeah, higher.
That's right.
Yes.
And yes, I don't know if they're working on getting Creed to sing the national anthem. I feel like that has to happen for 3, 4, or 5, but it's not as lopsided as it feels like based on just a month ago.
Okay, so and when it comes to that, I think I kind of like the Rangers being the underdog in that situation because I think they kind of like being on the rise. They like that feeling of, oh, really? Nobody thinks we can do it? Whenever they're out in front, they kind of, you saw it this year. They had moments of how do we manage this while we're ahead? How do we keep doing this thing and staying sharp? They sharpened up at the end of the season, Kevin. They sharpened up in the playoffs. That's when they sharpened up the most. I don't know exactly what it was that turned their decision to be more patient at the plate, for their pitchers to be. Maybe it was just health. Maybe that really was the key there at the end, that Eovaldi got healthy and Jordan Montgomery stepped into that role of, I'll be the ace if you need me to. I mean, just think about this. Everybody's had to be an ace this season at some point.
Sure.
Jacob DeGrom goes down, and it's like, all right, Eovaldi, and he's like, I gotcha. And then they're like, okay, Eovaldi's not feeling very well. Dane Dunning, it's your turn. And he's like, hold on, I guess John Gray wasn't necessarily the one that stepped up to be the ace during the season, but he's had some moments where he's really stood out. But everybody's had their chance to step into that big role, and they've done it pretty well. And so I think that's really, I'm looking at this thing saying this is a team that is really in for the grind. Now, will the bullpen be able to hold up late? Huge question mark. And we only know a small answer to that. Bobby Belt has joined us here as he's hanging out with us today as well. And I see his wife is here as well. So that's awesome to have her in this place.
I didn't want to bring it up because she was just here and Bobby wasn't here, just in case something bad had happened.
She makes this whole room look a lot better, I'll tell you that.
Did you know that?
Nothing against you guys, all right?
Jacob DeGrom really was the ace. So my weird factoid of the day that I definitely stole from Evan Grant is Did you know that the Rangers, if they make it to the World Series, get home field no matter what? They have more wins than the Diamondbacks, and they won the very first series
against the
Philadelphia Phillies, which means they have the advantage. So you go back, and the winner of the very first game for the Rangers was Cole Reagans. So just to put that in perspective.
that was still the DeGrom game,
yeah,
right?
No,
okay.
DeGrom started that game. Maybe it wasn't the best. Yeah. And Cole Reagans finished the game. So think about it. People who are not actively involved with this team, either way,
are responsible for us
started
potentially.
And finished and won the game, which is one of the 2 games you needed to win in that first series to get home field advantage potentially in the World Series.
Which is so much better than C.J. Wilson losing it in the All-Star game when he's the only one that gave up runs in that All-Star game, and then we didn't have home field advantage against St. Louis. Where Nelson Cruz, Kevin, I don't know if you remember or not, in 2011.
I do. I don't need you to tell me. We all know what happened in Game 6.
Gave up that.
Or whatever game it happened. We don't need to talk about it.
Trying to catch the outfield ball.
You know what, by the way?
What's up?
I know I've talked about this before. Why is there, I'm probably glad there isn't, why isn't there a 30 for 30 about that? Because you can save this BS about the 1986 World Series.
That moment specifically?
The 2011 World Series is more dramatic and more interesting than the 1986 World Series. Don't at me because I know it was Boston and New York, and Boston hadn't won a title, and blah, 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 and Bill Buckner didn't catch the ball. Well, guess what? If Bill Buckner catches that ball and touches first base, do the Red Sox win the World Series? No. The game's not over right there. You don't know if they win. I know definitively if that player that we're not talking about would have caught that ball in that game that we're not talking about, the Rangers would have won the World Series.
I don't know what we're not talking about.
Why
just address it.
Is that not a 30? I'll address it in 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
All
okay.
right?
All right.
I will address it in 2.5 weeks. Until then, I'm maybe 3 weeks. I'm not prepared.
Would talking doctors say it's okay to ignore this for now?
No, he would tell me to write a letter to Nelson Cruz and not send it.
Okay.
Or to whoever and not send it. It will help me deal with
How does that help not sending it? You have to send it.
Because you get all of your feelings out. And, at least it's on paper. And if you ever need it, you can refer to the letter. Okay. I'm not saying that because we've definitely been through this exercise
But don't you want
before.
them to feel the pain whenever they're reading it, too? That's the part that you really need the most, right? Is for them to see the pain.
See, I don't know.
It's like when your neighbor's really loud, all right? And you're like, okay, I've called the cops. Now it's time to go show them the pain.
See, I don't think I need the cops to show up to get the impact. I just need to tell them off. I just need... I was about to say something that was going to get marked.
Carry your woken up kid over there, and you're like, look at this right now.
Yeah. Is it possible he would wake up in the middle of the night anyway? Sure, but you don't know that.
My dog's barking.
A lot of optimism on the fan text right now. From the 214, Rangers in 5. From another 214, Rangers win in 5. From the 619, my God, Rangers in 4, 817. All right. I appreciate all the positivity. I hope that's the way it goes. Yeah, Rangers in 3, Astros get caught cheating, and we still make them quit. I would love all of that. I'm not trying to be a downer. I just want to bring this up from the 210. Astros in 5. Houston is in their heads. I don't agree with this last part, and the Rangers love choking. There's nobody on this team that's representative of in a postseason fashion.
You're making that sound as if the Rangers love choking. It's just in the fabric of their jerseys, right? That's what that sounds like when you say that.
Which, to be fair, is what people think about the Cowboys, right?
No, I understand that too. And we are rooting for jerseys, right, more than anything else. I did learn, Kevin, I was watching the Welcome to Wrexham series and the FA Cup. That is more about rooting for the team than it is for individual players.
I could see that.
And that's what the NBA wants to happen at some point. They're like, we're tired of the players having so much power here. But the other part here is, Corey Seager's an MVP, a World Series MVP. He has that on his slate, so he's not choking in the big playoffs, right? I don't know about Marcus Semien. Evan Carter hasn't had the chance, and so far, he's looked damn fine at it. Nathan Eovaldi has gone out there and won the biggest of big games. So there are a lot of guys, and your manager has done it multiple times. He knows what it's about. So there's nobody in this organization that I can think of That's like, and Josh Young, think about that. He hasn't had that opportunity either. They don't choke. This team doesn't, man.
And if your thought about them choking is that
maybe
last regular season, that's fair. Your last regular season series against the Mariners, it feels like they've made up for that in a pretty ginormous way. So I don't know about that. And by the way, from the 469, you mean you're not worried about the Diamondbacks who swept us during the season?
Not yet.
No, I won't be worried about them if we get there either. You know why? Because we had a terrible record against the Astros in the regular season.
Yeah.
And if we win that series after you smoked past the Orioles and the Rays, I will not be worried. I'm sure the Diamondbacks will have that same opinion. Yeah. They're like, hey, we're going to have the least wins ever to win the World Series. But they don't care. By the way, did you know this is the first ALCS and NLCS series across the board in the history of baseball where none of the teams have had more than 90 wins in a non-shortened season? Obviously, yeah, like 2020. In a full season, this is the first time ever there's been no team with more than 90 wins.
I did not know that. Thank you for telling me that.
And guess who has 90 wins?
The Rangers.
All of them except the Diamondbacks, I believe. But there's nobody left with a better record than you, which is encouraging. Your official prediction
is
Rangers
in six. Yeah, and you know what, man? Like the more I think about this conversation now, is the more that I'm like, okay, hold on, what's going on here? The Rangers. Aside from Aroldis Chapman, I can't think of anybody that's really choked in the big games like this at this level. They all Leody Taveras knows is what he's seen with Chris Woodward, and now all he knows is, do I just follow Corey Seager and Marcus Semien and go do this thing? I don't know what Marcus Semien's career playoff history is, but this is a group now that I have a lot of faith in, and I'll tell you the biggest factor, man, is definitely Bochy. Just the fact that dude understands what these guys are going through, what they have to look forward to, and what, he takes out the things that don't matter and just says, let's focus on these things. And Kevin, when I watch them at plate, one of the things that Ian Kinsler said a long time ago, I was in the clubhouse, and the Red Sox and Yankees were playing, and the Rangers were in the playoffs. And Ian Kinsler walked by, and he was like, dude, every single at-bat seems like it takes 10 minutes for these guys.
Yeah.
And I know there's not a clock like that, but do you know why it was like that for them? Because those were the great teams that were patient at the plate, forcing pitchers to pitch to them, and that's where the Rangers are right now. They are in their groove. So it's about to happen on Sunday, man.
And you were just talking about Bochy. Somebody asked which team has the better manager, the Rangers or the Astros. I think that the Rangers have the better manager. I'm not using that to shade Dusty Baker or anything like that. I do not
that's
hate
always been a big factor
Dusty
for
Baker. But I think that the Rangers have the better manager. And Ed from Denton, this is hard to argue with. The Rangers have been so hot and cold the past 2 months, it's hard to gauge. Fair enough. If you told me the Rangers won this in 5, I would be like, maybe. If you told me the Astros swept, I would also be like, yeah, I could kind of see that. So I have no freaking clue. I'm going to say Astros in 7. So we're going to get to the very end.
I hate you.
I'm sorry. But you know what? Here's the thing. The Rangers have never won the World Series, and they've never lost in an ALCS. They will take what they learn from losing in the ALCS and fuel them for the next year.
When they buy a whole new bullpen, because they're going to have
Absolutely.
to. There's nobody left.
You might be able to keep one person. When you buy a whole bullpen and win the whole damn thing. We're the KNC
so you have to wait till next year is what you're telling everybody, Kevin.
Yeah, well, that's just my prediction. So would I have predicted the Rangers from the ALCS at the end of the regular season? Probably not.
Yep.